All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cormier. I'm a reporter with Delaware Online and the News Journal here in Delaware. And I'm here with Isabel Hughes. Hello, Izzy.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. We're here to talk about your story that came out this morning. I felt bad because I know you've been working on this story for quite a while. And there was other big news this morning about the president.
Yeah.
So I was hoping we could talk a little bit about your story for those who might have missed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So the topic is fines for toll violations
hmm
and how those fines can really stack up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had some folks in the beginning of the story. I saw one woman, I think she missed a $4 fee. She said that her E-ZPass didn't work. That turned into a $54 total cost on her, a $50 fine. Then there was another guy who had $200 in fees for $3 worth of tolls that he didn't pay for various reasons we can get into. Can you talk a little bit about the way the fines are set up here in Delaware?
Yeah, definitely. I should start by saying this is fines and fees for the Delaware Department of Transportation. So this is Delaware roads. This does not include the Delaware Memorial Bridge, which is operated by the Delaware River and Bay Authority. So their fee is $25, just flat administration fee, and the money that their pot is completely separate from DelDOT. So I should start by saying that. But so this story really looked at the DelDOT fees and the $50 initial fee. And of that, 25 is an administrative fee. And then another 10 goes to there's two different funds. One is the Combat Violent Crimes fee, and then one is a volunteer ambulance company fee. And those combined, one is a $15 fee and one is a $10 fee. And those are both allowed under Title 21 of the Delaware Code. And that's because, toll evasion, which is what, the charge is, I called it toll violations, but really, legally it's called toll evasion. That's considered a crime in Delaware. Which is really interesting. And I know we're going to go into that in a second. But so that's the initial $50 fee. You have this $25 administrative fee for the first. So there's a private company that operates E-ZPass and does the toll billing and all that. It's called TransCore. And so they get the first 1.5 million of that $25 fee. And then once they hit that 1.5 million mark, half of the $25 fee goes to DelDOT's Transportation Trust Fund, which is what funds infrastructure, road projects. And that Transportation Trust Fund is completely separate from the state's general budget. So that's really how they're getting a lot of money for road infrastructure projects and all that. But then if you don't pay that first $50 fee, which, there are some tolls in the Dover area, some Dover exits that are as little as 50 cents, but you're still going to get that $50 fee. If after 42 days you don't pay that $50 fee, it goes up to $87.50. So granted, the most, you're ever going to pay on a single toll violation, a single toll evasion, as they call it, is $87.50. But for a 50-cent fee, that's a lot of money. And it definitely, frustrated a lot of people I talked to, for sure.
Yeah. So you talked to a few people who were in the story, a few people that weren't in the story. It sounds kind of made up when you think about it. If you tell someone you missed a toll that's $1 or $2, and next thing you know, you owe $87, And this could be because E-ZPass didn't work, or maybe you forgot at home. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I talked to DelDOT and the DMV, the head of the DMV, for this story. And, they say, obviously, like any technology, E-ZPass is not perfect. So there have been numerous instances where, like this girl, Danielle, who I opened the story with, her E-ZPass had worked right before and right after. She'd never had a problem with it before. And it was just this one time going through the Newark Plaza that the transponder didn't register when she went through. So in cases like that, DelDOT and the DMV were saying, we understand that technology is not perfect, and we try to work with people who have issues like that, and they say, one of the things the spokesman for DelDOT said is, like, we want people to call, those are the kinds of things we will work people on. Obviously, if you're purposefully evading tolls, the fine is the fine, but if it's a transponder issue, we'll work with you on that. That being said, I talked to one man. He's part of the National Motorist Association, and they don't believe in tolls at all. They think that gas tax should replace toll roads. But one thing he did say, he was like, you're paying for toll roads, you're paying for this service, you should get better service than you would think on a free road. So, his argument was, well, they should try to figure out how to not have this happen. But obviously you have to understand that technology is technology. It's not always going to work 100%. And DelDOT, they say, we want to hear your complaints. If there's something that's not working, we're going to work with you on it. We're willing to help.
Right.
And we're not going to penalize you for something that, might, if it's legitimately not your fault.
And before we get to the appeal process, just to be clear, so the tickets that go up to $87.50 and get cut off, that's per violation, and that's only for toll violations on roads that DelDOT runs.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So, and that's also, the $87.50 is only if you do not pay that initial $50 within the 42 days.
So people who have bigger traffic bills, toll fine bills than that, it could be multiple violations. It could be roads that are not run by DelDOT.
Right. And something that's also interesting about Delaware is that in Delaware statute, toll evasion is considered an unclassified misdemeanor, so a misdemeanor crime. And so it says in the statute, punishable by a fine no less than $25, which is, you see that, and tolls, I believe, in the state used to just be, the DelDOT tolls, I believe, used to just be the $25, and then they upped it to the $50. And there are new signs in the Newark Toll Plaza that reflect that, saying $50 fine. They used to say 25. But what's really interesting, so it says a fine no less than 25, nor more than 100, and no less than 10 days in jail, nor more than 30, or both. So conceivably, nobody has ever, at least what I found, and I don't think anybody has ever been jailed for going, for skipping 1, 2, maybe even 10 tolls and not paying. But it just, Danielle, the woman I spoke to for the story, she was kind of like, you're criminalizing what is often a mistake. It's like, why is the potential for jail time? And Steve, the man from the National Motorist Association who I spoke with, he was like, yeah, it doesn't really seem like they're acting on the jail time part, but it is a great fear factor. That was his quote.
Yeah, I can see if, I have E-ZPass here in Delaware, and it goes on my credit card. It's set up for an automatic refill. So I can see how if you don't take a look at it for a few months, and one day when you go down to the beach, it doesn't go off, all of a sudden you open it up and you have almost $90 worth of fines and past due tolls.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
So what about the appeal process? It seems like if you can prove that it was a mistake, they will make a change. But you had one example where the poor guy who had the $200 worth of fines, he said he was on the line for an hour and a half, and that was just one day.
Yeah, so that was just one day, and that was actually he had said he had gone back and forth with customer service several times. So, again, if you read the story, is he went through he had $7 in his account when he went through Dover area tolls 4 times. And, like I said earlier, those tolls can be between $1 and 50 cents, depending on the exit. So I think he went through 2 $1 tolls and 2 50-cent tolls. So it was $3 worth of tolls. And at the time he had $7 in his E-ZPass account. But for some reason, the system didn't register that he had sufficient funds. And so he was charged a $50 fine per violation. So $200 in fines for $3 worth of tolls. And he said, he called and appealed because he was like, this is ridiculous. I had these funds, I can look at my account right now and see these funds are in there. And so he called, and then he actually ended up going in person and talking to them, and he showed them 1 month worth of a statement for a month. And they came back and said, no, 1 month isn't going to cut it. Show us a couple months more. So he, gets 2 months worth of statements.
So that first appeal was officially denied, right? And then he had to go back with 2 months.
Yeah. So then after they first denied the appeal, he went back again and said, okay, now I have 2 months worth of statements. Are you going to accept it? And they said, okay, well, yeah, now that you have 2 months worth of statements, we can see it. But the second time he called, he was on the phone for an hour and a half. And, his quote to me was, if this happens, or next time this happens, I'm scared to call it, because he didn't want to wait on the line. I think, and he said something along the lines of, and this didn't make it into the story, but he said something along the lines of, if it had not been $200, like if it had just been one $50 fine, he was like, I may have just paid it, just to not have to go through the headache, which, when I spoke to Jenna Simpler, she's the head of the Delaware Division of Motor Vehicles, she said they really care about customer service. And she said TransCore, which is, again, the private company that operates E-ZPass and does toll collection for DelDOT, she said they really care about customer service. So they obviously don't want somebody waiting on the line for an hour and 30 minutes. So she said she's in contact almost every day with TransCore, talking about customer service issues and stuff. So kind of her response was, really, we're working on this, we care about this. It's, I don't know that I cited this guy specifically saying he waited an hour and a half, but I think her response was, no, we really do care about this. It's not like, and we really take criticism and comments and complaints to heart.
Just a story about fees and fines and tolls. I know people love reading that kind of stuff, especially if you've been caught up in that, which some of us have. I was curious what kind of a reaction you've gotten from readers, whether sending you emails or on Twitter or in Facebook comments, if you're brave enough to delve into the.
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much, the reaction I've gotten from this story. I've gotten some from this story today, but it was more so part of what happened when I started looking into the story because one of our print designers saw a story in our sister paper, in a New Jersey paper, looking at toll fees in New Jersey, because the fine in New Jersey is also $50. The difference in Jersey is that the $50 is completely an administrative fee, whereas, as I explained earlier, it's broken up in Delaware to, 25 administrative and then a couple other things. But she kind of, she sent me a message and was like, oh, have you heard of this in Delaware? And I was like, no, I haven't really heard of people having many toll issues. And then this girl, Danielle, she tweeted at us and was like, what the heck is this $50 fee for my $4 toll? Like, this is kind of ridiculous. And it just so happened she's a reporter. So she, was kind of like, this seems, I'm sniffing around on this, my ears are perking up because I'm a reporter and like, some of this doesn't make sense to me. So after I spoke with her, I put a call out on Facebook, and that's really where I got the responses of, I have had the same problem. Like, why do I have to pay $50 or even more than that for a single toll violation? And again, you can get these cases where, and maybe somebody's E-ZPass, their account, they don't have it on auto refill and it does, dip below. So every time they're going through a toll, they may not know that their E-ZPass, has a negative balance. They're getting charged that $50. So you can rack up many, many fees very quickly. And people were saying that. And this one woman, and granted, this was kind of her fault, her boyfriend's fault. So, it wasn't an E-ZPass transponder issue. It wasn't an account issue. This really was her fault. But she said she was letting her boyfriend use her car, and he was going through tolls on Route 301, which is cashless, and you do pay by plate. But for whatever reason, so she does not have an E-ZPass. And for whatever reason, he was going through the E-ZPass lane, also not telling her about the tolls anyway. She said she just wasn't, she had moved recently and just wasn't checking her mail. So she had I believe it was like $2,500 worth of fees. And it's like, granted, that is her boyfriend's fault. You can't blame the E-ZPass. You can't blame an account issue, but it's just like, you can see how quickly those fines add up.
What about just the general fairness of a $50 fine on a $3 toll? When you add it up, those numbers get even wider. But just for one, I'm sure you spoke to some people who are just saying that's too much.
Yeah, and a lot of people, Danielle, a couple other people who I spoke to for the story, but didn't actually, use them or quote them in the story. They were saying they really want the fine to reflect closer to the actual toll price. And I mentioned the $50 fee is the same in New Jersey. All of that is one administrative fee, but in there, there have been class action lawsuits in New Jersey Superior Court saying, this is illegal because the New Jersey Turnpike Authority, in that case, is using it to generate money for its general fund. And, the administrative fee is not actually going towards the cost of, what it costs to run the tolls and the E-ZPass program and all that. And quite frankly, the same argument could be made here in Delaware. It's Transcore, the entity that operates E-ZPass, they get that whole $25 fee up to 1.5 million, and then they get half of it after that. But the other half after that 1.5 million does go into DelDOT's Transportation Trust Fund, which, like I said earlier, is its operating fund. So, I'm no legal expert, but kind of seems like you could make the same argument that, the plaintiffs in the New Jersey case are arguing.
Before we go, is there anything that you had in the story that we didn't get to, or anything that maybe hit the cutting room floor before it made it out?
Not really a whole lot. I think kind of the general takeaway is just, should lawmakers look at the fairness of the toll fees compared to the actual price of the toll, and also really should there be this threat of jail time? Again, like I said, for 1, 2, and probably even 10 violations, you're not going to be thrown in jail for 10 days or 30 days, the minimum or the maximum. But like, the man Steve I interviewed said, it's a good fear factor. And it just, I don't know. I've a lot of people just really don't seem to think it's fair. So it's like, is this time to look at this? So.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me here today to talk about this. Here
Absolutely.
on Facebook Live. Isabel Hughes for Delaware Online News Journal. I'm Ryan Cormier, and thank you for watching, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.